I believe so. Hello there, Mr. Jennett.
Scott, you're muted.
You stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call meeting to order. Roll call.
Mayor Westergaard.
Yes.
Mulder.
Yes.
Stankin.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Boltman.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
No public forum, consent agenda. Any additions? Motion to approve.
So move.
Second? Pick one.
Okay, we'll go with Mulder and Boltman.
Roll call.
Mulder.
Yes.
Bolton.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Stankin.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Okay, we have building permit applications.
Yeah, just that permit from Al's Corner is signed and approved.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Thank you.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Mulder.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Boltman.
Yes.
Okay, we have fence permit. It's met everything it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Motion to approve the fence permit.
So move.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mulder.
Yes.
Boltman.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Stankin.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Okay, resolution 2121. Grant was gonna be here.
Trent was gonna be here. He ended up with some family issues with his kids. Nothing bad. I think he just had to pick up his kids or something. His wife wasn't able to do that. So expressed his disappointment for not being able to meet everybody tonight. But I would tell you that the selection committee had met it and interviewed two folks, and Trent will be recommended for hire. Trent is actually the utility superintendent up at Bancroft now, and looking forward to getting back to the area. As him and his wife have family in this area, and really looking forward to that. But he's been a lineman now for I think like 6 years, and had been with the city of Manning and then with Bancroft. Just very, very highly recommended by the committee.
He interviewed well and he's got good experience.
I make a motion we approve Brent for hiring.
Second?
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Boltman.
Yes.
Stankin.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Mulder.
Yes.
Okay, we have DGR, we need to approve their study.
Yeah.
Isn't that the engineer that we used for the consultant on the street, right? Is that the same one?
That consultant on the street. Yeah.
That's what I thought.
It is. You know, really, they really function with, I think, two different arms: the electric versus the civil. And we've used the electric side for many years also.
Yeah.
Really, just knowing that this is really a comprehensive load study, and Dean and Jeff and I met with Jared for a couple of hours, I think, and went through lots of things in regards to the system and the loading and the new loads that are coming on, and how he would do some analysis on that. But also went out with Jeff and into the system and did quite a little bit of work out there, and got some information then out of the substation too, so they can work everything all the way back to the substation.
Does this study concern anything with rural lines at all, or do they check it on that kind of stuff? Or?
Not physical. This deals with more of the loadings, you know. So they'll know what the lines are, you know, what the size of the lines are, and what they're able to handle. But that's basically it. I mean, it's not an inventory and an assessment of the current facilities.
It's kind of just an overview of what we have and whether that's adequate for what we
For what we need for load. That's the major part of it.
And this is what we kind of should do every umpteen years.
Yeah. The last time this was done was when Evapco came to town. So it's been 20
Yeah.
years since we've
Yeah.
done something like this, and we've had some real big changes on the system about some new load. The Hallett's load out there is a lot lower than it's ever been. So it just working out that and making sure that everything's properly balanced and that we're sized and ready to go for everything. Just point out the fee on this was $25,000 some dollars.
And I see where they'll,
25.4.
they're gonna assess the expansions we've got going on too.
Yes, oh yeah, absolutely. That's first thing on the docket is to get those, get the work done on those so that we know the sizing of those and can get all of the product ordered.
Okay.
We need a motion to approve that study.
Yeah.
I'll make it.
I'll second it,
Roll call.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thomas,
yes.
Holtman,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Moller.
Yes.
Okay, we've had KTIV down here a couple times now about putting a weather camera up down somewhere. They would focus on the lake and the campground. And they felt that we were a good candidate. We're quite a ways out from Sioux City. Even the gal who came down here, through Storm Lake, had never heard of Black Hawk Lake.
Yeah.
Right, Sue.
Yep, she said she hadn't heard of Black Hawk Lake. She must have been on the show. I don't know. Anyway, the diagrams up here show you that the numbers in thousands, how many watch different news deals. And this thing is, what we would do is offer to share the cost, like Jacobson was here that day and I asked if he wanted to participate if we did this, and he said yes. When we first talked about this, I talked to Lee Webker at Cornbelt. They thought that they'd like to be a sponsor also, so that would share the cost. But this camera runs live 24/7. You can web up or get on their website, and they're going to mention 1,700 newscasts that we would be on. When we have special events, we just call them up or email them, and they'll mention our special events. That doesn't cost any extra, but if we could get some other businesses that would want to share the cost, I think that'd be a plus.
What does it cost?
1,700 a month.
Oh,
Yes.
So how many participants do they usually have, you know, that take sponsorship like this? Did you say how many?
How many towns? No.
No, how many businesses?
Well, what we have to do is, if we say we want to do this, I got to contact the business that I think would be interested, and then they'll come down here and do a meeting, and then they can pick. Maybe they only want to be mentioned 2 months out of the year, any business. They could pick and choose, and they would do all that work for us, but
Well, I think you'd want to personally contact the businesses that you think would participate, but I think you'd want to invite all the businesses to
right,
the
but
meeting.
we'd invite them all to come, especially those that, and she would come down any night and meet with the business right here or at the library, wherever we want to do it. It just, print advertising doesn't do us any good, so.
When she had talked about the number of entities that would help sponsor, she had mentioned the number 6 about being a good
Right.
number.
So if we could get 6 a
To help.
month,
Like the city and 5 others.
Yeah, to share the cost.
That would be great. We'll see if we got that many interested folks who might help out, so.
But I gotta let her know tomorrow if we're interested in.
so that would be
continuing this.
6, and they would be featured twice a year then, is that what
Yeah,
I'm
so-
figuring out?
Well, they could pick out when they wanted.
They do 2 businesses as sponsors, might be listed whenever they're mentioned. And then she mentioned that it'd be a month segment at a time. So that basically, if there's 6 of them, each business is mentioned for 2 months.
so that's 300, basically 300 a month per.
Yeah, they would mention, this is like, they could show the boats in the bay or something. This is the webcam or weather camera at Black Hawk Lake sponsored by so-and-so. That's, but they would continue to do it so many times broadcasted, I guess.
How
Anyway,
many
she's got all,
people, did they say how many people listen to the news at 5 o'clock in the morning?
at 5 o'clock is,
There's a chart right
10
there.
o'clock at night is 29,000. It reaches 29,000 adults,
I know we do all the time, but I
yeah.
just wondered how many.
But they got it
Well,
broke down.
One of the banks had mentioned this to me several years ago, that they would like to see us get Lakeview on there.
I was gonna
you know.
contact Iowa States.
I didn't know, what the cost was, but I think it'd be worth looking into it.
We'll see, at least see what kind of interest we have in it. I mean,
Yep.
we don't know until we ask and find out. I mean, that's our first step, get a presentation put together and find out.
And actually, the KTIB manager would come down and take care of the meeting.
Yeah, that would be great.
The camera they wanna put is a 360, it telescopes back and forth, and the camera they wanna put here, they can't get for another 9 months, but they got another camera they would bring. But at first, we'd have to put it down right where Bolin puts his tent for the concert, because we have power in it, and then they have to have a dedicated, Hornbelt's line.
A Wi-Fi.
You know, they gotta have a fiber optic line,
So-
dedicated just to them.
So they would, are you saying that they would take that electrical spot,
But just put
and
it
we
on top of
wouldn't be
the
able
pole.
to use it, or?
We could
on
use
top
it.
of the pole?
Yeah, it'll be up on the pole, keep it away from the vandals. But if we're interested, I'd contact the businesses and just go and see those I thought were interested and have them come to a meeting and see what happens.
Well, I think we ought to see if there's an interest there.
Yeah.
I can try to talk to a couple too, if you want.
That'd be great. So all we gotta do is pick a night and they'll come out here and they'll give them how many times and how much it is. But they said a 30-second spot at 10 o'clock news costs $600. I thought that was,
It's not cheaper than the football game.
is it? They always
I
look like
actually
that.
think-
Millions for the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think we should, I think it'd be nice to have a business meeting anyway, so that would be good for this, and then just get their feedback on things around town and
Sure.
how they feel, and we haven't had that for a while.
and we'd like to set up as soon as we can, so we're up and running for concerts,
Mm-hmm.
sip and sample.
Right.
Sounds like a pretty good plan, we'll see if we can execute it.
I'll work on it.
All right.
City administrator report.
Just,
We're gonna talk about the water.
yeah, well, get there. A few things, just some of these things mentioned in your memo about the Camp Crescent project is basically done. And the cedar was to come today or now whenever the weather is satisfactory for them to do it, and that's really the last thing. We'll work on a water issue to make sure that we have some real low water pressure in some areas, so we gotta figure that out. But other than that, project done,
Yep.
fair statement?
Yep. Good,
Yep, and they
Good job.
came together pretty well, so
good job.
pretty pleased. See that we have a couple of planning and zoning positions that are expired, and one is Nate Beckman's and then Linda Drillings. Linda's indicated that she's gonna be getting off of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Nathan's interested in being reappointed. We'll take some, we'll ask for applications from the public then to fill that position.
What is the deadline for that, or you don't know yet?
I don't know if I want it to be here really quick, it probably, if I can get it in the paper, it can't be done by the next council meeting. Really, so expect about the 1st of June.
All right.
A little update on the lagoon, just that the Bentonite is here, I see the smile.
No, I'm happy, I'm just thrilled.
But the Bentonite is here. The cell number 1 is basically empty. It looks like there's several feet of sewage in it, but it's basically empty. And John Healy had talked about beginning work here now anytime. Nothing had occurred yet today, and no equipment had been moved in yet.
So who's gonna pay Healy for this? Do we know yet? Depends on what they find, or how is this gonna be assessed? Is it the engineer or the bonding company's just gonna pay it, and do they decide if it's the contractors?
I don't know that I know the answer, but it's not the
Did
city.
they decide
Yeah.
how much they're replacing or repairing?
Wanted to make sure that we
That's the
defer
big
to the engineer on that.
So he's gonna start and he doesn't know what he's gonna do?
Well, I
That
thought
they
the-
have this team services coming, yeah, they do.
Okay,
That he's starting and he's working on the east half of the south berm. Removes all of the revetment stone out of the,
from where to where?
Well, they were
from
gonna
the
go
middle,
from that
from
leak
the
on
east
the
half.
west side.
All the way to the corner
Yeah.
and around the corner?
I thought they were gonna
No.
spot check that whole south side.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna do some drilling to see how much clay was
Well, I
actually in
think
there.
he was just gonna dig.
And they're,
And then I thought any drilling was gonna be on that geothermal on that east side. You know, remember they were gonna bring those geothermal unit things out, and I think that's what that was for. To test the liner in other areas.
okay,
That was the understanding I got that day, because Dave asked, how do we know it's not gonna start leaking on the other side then when you fix this, you know?
mhm,
And they said they could bring in these geological things and test that liner.
and they do have team services is lined up, that's the.
Cause I
the
remember I
geotech
said,
firm.
we're not paying for it. And he said, no, you're not.
Right.
Well, you said the bonding company would
Right.
pay for it, but, and then also, we won't be able to sign off on the project till next year, because by the time that lagoon gets.
And that's not a bad thing, because then our bond doesn't start till that day, so we get 3-year bond,
Right.
which is kinda like a warranty.
Mhm.
So the later we sign off on it, the farther out that pushes our warranty. That Whitey pushed for, he needs to get some credit for that.
If we get, the thing we just gotta watch though is that this'll give the system, we haven't had a really, the system's basically set up to work right, but we've had these minor leaks. I don't say minor leaks, but the longer we wait, if there's other things that pop up, then we can address them before we start punching the clock, you know, so.
Everything's okay with,
You need to get all the kinks worked out.
building?
Now.
We have,
No.
No. Okay.
Anyway, so of course, it rained 2.5 inches last night, and Brian showed up this morning with a bunch of pictures of some wet spots still in the building, and a lot of them are underneath windowsills. A little bit of stuff yet where it looks like things might weep through the wall a little bit, and then there's a couple of.
Such a small building, Jeff.
Yeah, a couple of the doors, they
Yeah,
actually,
not difficult,
we gotta
yeah.
just make sure that they're properly sealed at the bottom, they let it.
And the issue with that is the seal is just a brush, it's not, and I talked to the engineer that day and he was gonna put a rubber seal there to help that leak, because otherwise you're gonna get dust and moisture and everything inside that building and so.
So what's your,
I do think that we kinda had a little meeting of the minds that day and decided that, you know, some clarification ought to be put out, info to the public about, you know, I mean, cause like, you know, I just got done building a house and you always have little glitches, well, that doesn't even compare to a $6-point-some million thing, so you're gonna have a few glitches, you know, and we haven't had huge leaks or anything, it's just these annoying things, and so the longer I mean, you know, I think we're doing everything we can. We're not signing off to accept the project, and right now the contractor's having to.
But it's good to remind the public of that.
Yeah, well, I
That
think,
we're not,
yeah,
you know.
because there's not it's hard to decipher through all of that, so.
so Dean, look in your crystal ball, do you think we'll ever have a mold problem then? If we don't get these leaks fixed, or what's your thoughts?
We could. I don't know, I guess I haven't looked to see if there's air conditioning in there. But with that seal on the bottom of the door, you can see where the water comes in, sits right in front of the doors. And I talked to the engineer that day, and said, it shouldn't be a brush, you know, cause that's what it looks like to me, is just a brush and the seal, and he said a rubber seal would be better, cause it seals stuff out. Me and Brian looked, and there are spots around them windows that they didn't get caulked, so.
So he told you that day he had a door ordered, didn't he? Was that the door you're talking about, or that's a
They
different
come
door?
and fix that door.
Oh, they
They
fixed that
could
door?
fix the latch on that door, so it
Okay.
locks now.
And the countertop's not fixed yet?
No. They were talking about getting one piece, maybe,
Okay.
instead.
That'd be probably a good deal.
Huh?
That'd be a better deal.
Yes.
Go until we get it go, I mean, the lagoon in itself is working. I mean,
The discharge is right, where we're supposed
It
to
is,
be.
yeah, yeah.
The gallons, we've got pretty much matched up now, right? So we've got-
Close. Yeah.
And the Sager system's worked well, right? I mean, has it been tested adequately? I mean,
Routinely, yeah, oh yeah, we take these effluent tests all the time, and
The
and
systems,
it's.
we just gotta get this other stuff worked
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
it's a good system, and it will serve this community well for a long time. So we're hoping to get some info out to the public that's a little bit more clairvoyant.
Anything else on that? So we've got our lineman hired, of course, and so we're back to full staff. We've given Raccoon Valley REC notice then that we will allow the 90-day contract to expire at its end. And they've acknowledged that, and they're actually real good about that. They weren't charging us for the final month
That's nice.
of payment, so.
Thank you.
that's great. For just a couple things about that Jacobson project, you know, there's a variance involved. And so the Board of Adjustment meets next Monday, and they'll do that at 7 o'clock. And then there's a planning and zoning meeting at 7:30, and they'll have their site plan consideration then at that time too. And
And are you, okay, never mind.
just with any luck, we may have a final plat of the landing at East Shore for Monday night consideration.
I forgot there was a project.
I haven't, people ask all the time about it.
It's hard to forget.
And that's another thing, you know, people think that it's not happening, and I'm like, well, actually,
It is.
it is, and
It's
there's
time.
been a lot of infrastructure out there, and just, you know, he can go at his own pace, it's his property, so.
You know. We are going to get an additional campground attendant hired. And Abby Hauser is available, and we talked with Abby, and Abby will be available for the summer. And we just talked to her today, so it wasn't on the agenda. But it'll be expected on the agenda next time to hire Abby, and actually we'll get her to work here shortly. We have
What will
orientation.
our
on
duties be then?
Campground attendant, just traditional campground attendant duties.
Okay.
'Cause so we're finding out, you know, we had hired one additional person at the beginning of the year who declined. So this basically fills that position. And Jack is working as much as possible. And we just need to make sure that we have some staff to pick up slack if need be.
Okay.
Overall, things seem to be going well down there.
Yeah,
As far as I can
you
tell.
know. King Construction has called and asked that we would pay them the retainage for that biocell project out there at Bob Terrell's. $6,908 is what we're still holding on that. And we held it through the winter to check out the plantings out there. And there are a lot of plantings that aren't necessarily coming back, but that would be warranty work for them to have to replace those anyway. So I guess expect that that'll be on the next council
Are
meeting.
they aware that they need to fix the pipe?
Yeah, I went out and walked that today. It actually was a lot better than what I had envisioned. There's a
This
lot of
rain
life
might
out there.
help a
Is
lot.
there? I thought that, they looked dead to me.
I'm telling you that there's 25%, maybe that's it.
Well, it's a pretty tough winter this year.
That's what dry last year.
On this, like it says, now he can go up in the bucket and stuff, Trent?
Trent, oh yeah, he's,
Oh, why can he without the journeyman and, or,
yeah, just think about Cameron and that we had.
But he was a German then.
He was a journeyman for about 2 weeks before he left us.
Oh, yeah.
He was
I
always
was
in
just
training.
wondering.
And, so Trent has just never been through the formalized journeyman course. But is just very well qualified really in all
Yeah,
aspects.
well, I have no doubt about it, I
of-
just
of
was
this.
wondering about why he, you know, the journeyman, he can go up in the bucket that, you know,
Sure.
other ones can't, you know, just,
So,
yeah, just wondering.
It's all about experience.
on the job training, that's a lot of it. He, is certainly interested in proceeding through the journeyman program at some time. He's content with where he's at right now, and, we can only have, Jeff can only supervise one participant in the journeyman program at a time. So if that participant is Austin, Trent was okay with having to wait his turn then before he'd be able to, get in the program. Sac County League is not this Thursday, but the following Thursday, the 13th, and it's over at Wall Lake. Now, Shaler hosts, I think, but they're having it at Wall Lake. And we will need to RSVP.
May,
Yes, yep, next Thursday.
I'll be there.
Indeed.
yeah, I'll try, see what happens.
You all right?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Whitey,
I
Tammy?
can't do Thursdays,
Yep. You're in for two?
not right now.
Oh, I don't know that I'll be there.
We'll get all the info for you.
Golf night.
Golf night.
That's good.
Oh, boy.
Oh, wow. I won't make it either, but.
All right. That was it?
You wanna talk about the water a little bit?
Yeah. So I sent out all those letters about those water studies. Did they all make perfect sense?
Well, not
I read through it, I didn't know about making sense.
Well, just really wanted to keep you
Hard to follow the engineer.
I know where it's going.
up to speed about that.
I know the location.
Down the drain.
I know the number of pumps.
Yeah,
I've got a
and
lot
really
of with a
that's,
six-pack of beer.
Yeah.
that's it. So if you look at page 5, this first letter is going to describe what the booster pump station would look like, and then likely where it would be located. So, in the likely location is the south side of the road at 5th and Madison, and Sharon, or around Sharon Orrick's property. Okay? If the physical size of it allows, it would be located in the right of way. The water main's on the north side of the street there, so it would come across through the pumping station and then back into the mains. It's very likely is a below grade type of a facility. So when you look at the picture, and that is on page 8, that picture that they provided comes from the city of Granger. But that's it, and that's what it looks like. It's the flat concrete things, kind of at the end of that little driveway. And then there's a control panel that goes along with it. So really, unobtrusive,
Yeah, really.
and folks will know that it's there. But again, just
So this would be on the inside of the sidewalk or the outside?
on the street side of the sidewalk.
That's what I was going to do.
For as much as possible, we'd like to keep this on public land.
Sure.
And depending on the size then, about whether it creeps in
Because they're
into
fairly
anything
good
private,
sized.
then we'd need easement, in order to have it there.
So this will be a lot cheaper than doing the 12-inch crust.
Just so, I guess, think of this as two separate things. About the northwest part of town, this is a booster pump to increase pressure in the northwest part of town. Now, when we talk about that line out to Evapco, completely different thing.
Yeah, the line out to Evapco, but then we aren't gonna get it, we ain't running that 12-inch clear along the highway yet, are you?
That's the idea, is, you know, we'll talk about doing two separate things to address two separate problems.
But you can't get enough water to only do the one, the 12-inch line won't bring enough water up there to, without doing these pump stations.
No, it doesn't do anything to address pressure.
Okay,
You know, if we put a good water main there, it still wouldn't do anything to address the pressure problem.
but I didn't know.
But it's the gallons per minute for the fire suppression system.
Yeah,
That's what they're after,
So,
sprinkler.
so I guess my question about this, this pump station pressure, to increase the pressure is the need. I mean, I know the school needs it, but they kind of already built in their plan to address that, right? And then we've got, I mean, I guess I just wondered, I mean, obviously, we'd like to give them good pressure up there, and we certainly want fire control. Do we need to do a survey of people in that area? I mean,
really what we've based this on is largely complaint driven about where we've received complaints about pressure. And that's why we had that discussion at the last meeting about the physical area to be included with this.
exactly, but, I mean, I guess I'm asking you, how big is the need, how many complaints, I mean,
Nursing home,
Just knowing
I
that
mean, is it a
there's-
real problem at the nursing home?
just like it is at school.
Yeah.
It's, I guess I just view this as an opportunity to address a shortcoming.
Yeah, exactly, I just,
And then also, if there's any kind of development out in that direction in the future.
well, and we have a little bit going out there, you
Right.
know, so this will also help, Jacobson's expansion,
Does help Jacobson's, and even like
this new.
Tyson Beckman's place up there, you know, it's gonna build that new one.
Okay.
Which we need to find a sewer for that.
Hopefully this Friday he'll be here.
So really, that was the intention of that first letter, is to just kind of describe the system, know what it would look like, know what size it was that you're dealing with, location at Fifth and Madison. The schematic of what it looks like is on page 10. So it would show these pumps, two of these pumps that one of them operates all the time to keep pressure elevated. And then there's valving in there that during the night when there's no water usage to speak of, you know, this valve automatically opens and basically allows water back into the system, so you're equalizing pressure that way. But I'm getting into the second letter before we get into that. So it starts on page 11, where it talks about these pump alternatives. So again, one of these pumps is operating all the time. That's how it maintains pressure. Because they'll refer to this as a closed loop, as in it's closed and it's no longer generating pressure off the tower. It's generating pressure from these pumps.
So it creates its own pressure, so it's a closed system.
All right.
Okay.
And this pump runs all the time then, and then that's why they talk about the valving and this pressure valve that allows water then to go back into the system and equalizes pressure that way. You learn all about the inverse correlation between the pumps with the centrifugal pump and all this other stuff. But first, what they really get to is they want to work through some alternatives on number of pumps. They've given you 3 alternatives on number of pumps, two small pumps, so that the one runs all the time and during periods of high demand, and especially during fire protection, that second one's going to kick in. Okay, that 2 small pumps would not provide enough pressure to meet severe fire protection needs. Okay, so but that's an alternative that for general operations it would work out great.
So you're saying if we wanna do the fire thing, if we wanna up that code to the adequate for the school, I mean, cause you're gonna have some pretty big businesses up there,
Mm-hmm.
you would go with a bigger pump?
So you'd look at the second option there that they list is 2 pumps again, where you got one that's a smaller pump, and you have one that's a bigger pump, okay? So the smaller pump is the one that runs all the time, and it's properly sized for the usage that would be on the system. And this bigger one really only ever kicks in during times of really high demand, like most likely fire protection. So you would size the pump big enough then that it addresses the most of the fire protection needs up there.
Did they do a study, did they know what the PSI is up there now? That was
They're
last
asking us
week's?
for that data.
Okay, alright.
So will they address any concerns about with this kind of pressure, more pressure now with our older lines, how they would hold up? Is there any concerns about that?
You know, we've had, or if that was brought up as a passing issue, but we haven't had a whole lot of
I
discussion.
think Jeff has some concerns about it, I think.
I do too, that's why I'm just asking, but that's a question, that's a fair question to ask them,
Sure.
what their odds of that happening, you know, cause that could be a big ticket item if all the,
And it isn't like we're going from 20 pounds to 150 pounds. We're only going to go up 20, 30 pounds, aren't we?
Right.
It's not a big push. Not that that's not, can happen,
anything can happen.
anything can happen,
Yeah.
and it will.
I'd just like to see if they, what their thoughts are.
Is there a way to test that?
Well, I don't know if there is or not, but I guess what I'm asking is, if they, have they ever experienced any of these problems with
Right.
any other jobs?
Sure.
What happens if they come into a new system into an older system that's been in the ground for how many years?
Decades, you betcha.
Yeah. So-
I know the one question that they have is that 2-inch line that runs in front of Jacobson's and Denny's and stuff. That's the one that they have questions about because it's broken so many times right there,
Right.
You know,
so.
we talked that day about replacing that.
Maybe in the 4-inch or something, yeah.
That probably needs to be
It
done.
needs to be done anyway.
Yeah.
But I wonder about the others, the rest of it, like going up Fifth Street and Broughton Boulevard and Ash and up through there.
I
It
just like
ain't
to-
only your big one though, you know, it's the ones that shoot off, you know, that are the peoples that, by the, you know, the smaller lines.
Oh, the service lines, yeah.
Yeah,
But that area up there is relatively new. I mean,
It's a
newer.
newer part of town.
Yeah,
I mean, ours is new, well, we've lived there 20 years, but it was done right before, when they redone the house,
Yeah, a
it's
lot
all
of
new water
more
lines in that
around the
place. But
50s and 60s.
right.
but I don't know if the water line from the street to the house is what that is, you
Mhm.
know.
When they talk about pump options, Bob had laid out a third option and it involves 3 pumps. Where you have those 2 small pumps, and one small pump runs all the time, and you can cycle the 2 small pumps back and forth, and you always have a backup then. And then there's a third pump, and it's that big pump that would kick in for fire protection purposes. And we can certainly have them quote all these out to price-wise and know what we're looking at. But,
And know if there's a way to test our system.
So if you had that third pump, then you'd have, I suppose, do chores, you'd have to check it, run it every.
Check it, just check on it. And
so this is the one where they're asking us to provide that flow rate data up there around the school, so we still need to get that to them.
I've got the old hydrant gallons per minute. Brian found that for me today,
Mm-hmm.
so I've got that.
So what's gonna, also like all this expense here, what's gonna happen to the cost of the water to the people?
I think the hope is that we would finance this water project of the pressure zone and the Evapco thing, you know, that it'd be financed through TIF.
Yeah, so then it won't, you don't think it'll be raising the rates are
That in
so
itself-
high already
That
that.
in itself wouldn't.
No,
I'll have nothing to do with it.
that would be the goal.
Right.
And then, as you look at page 17, just started that, a short letter in regards to that line out to Evapco. And it goes through the elevations and the sizing and the pressures and how much pressure drops off through all of the feet of drop and whatnot. But what he's really doing is the explanation for sizing this to be what it is, so that a 12-inch water main, basically from the tower out to Evapco to the plant site. See, the alignment of it actually goes up to the plant site and interconnects with the 10-inch out there at the plant site, not at the corner of M54. This was proposed to go to the plant site, so that helps with the amount of water. And the other thing that it lays out is that there's a 10-inch line coming out of the tower right now. And we would actually tap into that 10-inch line as it intersects down on 3rd Street. And we won't actually be getting a new line up into the tower. This would use the existing 10-inch that comes out.
We took it, the 12-inch into the 10-inch.
Yes. Yep. And then the
And
biggest, the most interesting thing about this letter then is on page 19. You can see what a cost estimate is on. So
Yeah,
if
we
we
just
were-
wanna make sure that the estimated cost is somewhere in the ballpark of the actual cost. You know, 'cause
They got a 10%.
Well, I believe that.
yeah. Do we know anything about the Evapco project? It's kinda still on hold.
Still on hold, other than when I talked with Brett, it was apparent that they weren't able to do the project this year. They couldn't order the building today and have it in time to be able to construct this year.
But the project hasn't been tabled, it's still on.
Still on, still progressing forward, it's just like this next year.
We just can't get it going.
We just wouldn't wanna do this if they weren't gonna,
Right, sure. Yeah, any other questions on that stuff?
Anybody have any more questions? Motion to adjourn, second,
I'll second.
meeting adjourned.
Dave? Hold on there, don't hang up yet, Dave, I got a couple questions for you.